Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really fascinating look into TikTok, specifically its surprising power and the tech behind it, particularly within China's digital world.
Right. Yeah.
Forget that initial image of just, dance videos. Our source material today, it's an article looking at key terms for understanding China's IT sector, and it really flags short-form video, positioning TikTok as a major force. Especially in online ads.
Exactly. And our goal today, I think, is to figure out why TikTok, or Douyin as it's known there, has become so incredibly dominant, particularly its amazing ability to pull in ad revenue.
Okay.
And what does that tell us about the bigger picture? How people are consuming information online in China right now.
Okay, yeah, let's dive into that, starting with how TikTok evolved in China. Because like you said, many people probably still picture it as mostly teens doing lip syncs.
Right, that was the early perception. But Douyin in China today, it's vastly different.
How so?
Well, the sheer variety of content is just striking. I mean, yes, it started with trends popular among younger users, sure, but now it's exploded.
Go.
You've got humor, pet videos, really detailed cooking tutorials, news updates, travel guides, everything. It's really broadened its appeal.
So it's not just young women scrolling anymore?
Not at all. The user base now spans a much wider age range. It's almost like a super concentrated short-form YouTube, really. Much more diverse audience.
Interesting. And this, I guess, ties into its power as an advertising platform.
Absolutely. That's where it gets really exceptional. How efficiently TikTok in China makes money from ads.
Efficiently? How do you mean?
Well, you compare it to other big Chinese platforms like Bilibili or Weibo. TikTok brings in way more ad revenue, like several times, maybe even 10 times more in some cases.
Wow, 10 times. That's huge. What does that kind of efficiency tell us?
It's a strong signal of high user engagement, really high. It means people aren't just scrolling past, they're watching, they're tapping, they're interacting with the content and the ads. And that active engagement, naturally, means the advertising is just much more effective for the brands.
And this effectiveness has had some pretty big consequences, right, for the whole market?
Definitely. It's a huge reason why ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, shot up to become the #2 internet ad earner in China.
Number 2. Ahead of who?
They've actually blown past giants like Tencent and Baidu. Now they're only behind Alibaba in ad revenue.
That's incredible. I've even heard talk of a new bat to reflect this. For listeners, the original bat was Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, the old guard, you could say.
Exactly. And ByteDance crashing that party really shows their meteoric rise.
So what's the secret sauce? What's driving this?
It really comes down to the technology. ByteDance's core strength is its artificial intelligence. That AI is the key. It delivers incredibly tailored content to every single user.
So the feed isn't just random videos.
Oh, not at all. This AI is constantly learning from you, watching what you watch, what you skip, what you like, and it uses that to serve up a continuous stream of short videos that thinks you'll find interesting.
Okay.
It's designed, really, to be super engaging, almost addictive, you could say, like a personal DJ for video content that just knows what you want next.
And this AI isn't just for finding funny cat videos, right?
Right.
It applies to the ads, too.
Exactly the same principle. They use this really sophisticated AI for advertising as well, making sure the right ads get shown to the right people. And that precise targeting, that's what drives those amazing conversion rates we talked about.
This all feels like it points to some really big shifts happening in, the whole Chinese internet scene.
Oh, absolutely. If you zoom out, you see this clear trend away from text. People are moving towards visual content, photos, and especially videos.
Right.
And that shift, it's partly why search-focused companies like Baidu have maybe slowed down a bit, relatively speaking, while visual platforms from ByteDance have just taken off.
It's like the fundamental way people look for information online is changing.
I think so. We went from, seeking knowledge where search engines were king towards consuming more communication-based info, which is where social networks came in.
Okay.
And now, even within social, these visual platforms like TikTok are really outpacing the more text-heavy ones like, say, Twitter.
But before TikTok became this global phenomenon, ByteDance already had a big hit in China, didn't they? Today's headlines.
Yes. Today's headlines. That was their first real breakthrough. A super effective news curation app.
What made it different from other news apps?
It was all about personalization. Most news apps, they might let you pick categories like sports or business.
For generic stuff.
Pretty generic. But today's headlines went much deeper. It analyzed how you actually read articles. Did you finish it? Did you just skim? Did you bounce off it quickly? It learned your specific interests from your behavior.
That sounds way more granular.
It really is. The source mentions an example. Like if you suddenly start researching new retail and read a few articles, the app would quickly pick up on that and start showing you more news about new retail. Then, after a bit, it would gently ease back to a more balanced mix. It's constantly adapting.
Which is so different from most news apps where my front page probably looks a lot like yours.
Exactly. Today's headlines home screen for one user could look completely different from another's. It was driven by that machine learning constantly refining the feed.
The source also maps out how we got here, technologically speaking. The evolution of finding information online.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. We had that early phase, the listing era, like Yahoo, directory, humans basically cataloging the web.
Feels like ancient history now.
Doesn't. Then came search tech, Google being the obvious giant, using algorithms like PageRank to index and rank everything automatically, much more scalable.
And then social media arrived with the idea of the social graph.
Right. Platforms trying to use our connections, friends, followers to filter information. The idea was sound, connect people to share relevant stuff.
But it didn't always work out that way.
Well, the source argues those traditional social graphs often became really noisy. You follow people for all sorts of reasons, right? Not just because you share every single interest.
True. My feed can be a real mix.
Exactly. So connecting people didn't automatically mean connecting them to the most relevant content for any given moment. It made precise targeting pretty hard.
And this is where ByteDance with TikTok did something different.
Yeah, they kind of sidestepped the limitations of that traditional who-you-know social graph.
How?
TikTok basically creates content-specific social graphs. Think about it. On older platforms, if you wanted to become an influencer, you often had to slowly build followers, network, maybe get shout-outs.
Yeah, it could be a real grind. Or cost money.
Right. But on TikTok, virality can strike like lightning.
Yeah.
Based purely on the content itself. Doesn't matter as much if you have 0 followers to start. If your video hits, it can explode.
The source had an example, right? Someone becoming famous overnight.
Yeah, a woman in a web media interview whose TikTok video just took off, landed her commercial deals. Instant star.
And that Chengdu little sweetie story, too.
Oh, yes. That's a perfect illustration. Just a simple, 15-second clip of her answering a question on the street, enough to take me out to eat, was her answer about dating requirements.
Right.
It got millions and millions of views, and then, bam, the phone company Xiaomi uses her in one of their ads almost immediately. We got the link to that original video, by the way.
And Xiaomi capitalized on that buzz so fast.
It's incredibly fast. Their ad featuring her... It's linked on Bilibili, focused on features appealing to young women, like phone colors and a mirror finish. It shows how brands can just instantly plug into TikTok trends.
So how does the tech actually make that happen, that rapid spread?
It's this recommendation engine. When a video goes up, it gets shown to a small, random test group first.
Okay.
The AI watches how they react, watch time, likes, shares, comments, everything. That data feeds the machine learning model, which figures out, okay, these kinds of users like this video.
Yeah.
Then it pushes the video out to a much larger group of users with similar profiles. And it keeps measuring, refining, scaling. If a video resonates, it spreads like wildfire. If it flops, its reach stays limited.
So from the user side, it feels like you're just constantly finding stuff you actually want to watch.
Exactly. That's the core of its addictive quality. You're caught in this loop of discovery, tailored just for you. And like the source says, it's not just dancing, it's cooking, pets, travel, news.
It's funny you mentioned cooking. I've actually found short recipe videos surprisingly useful.
Me too. And the pet videos, well, they're a category unto themselves, but it does change how you consume things. I definitely find myself getting impatient with longer videos sometimes now.
Totally agree. My attention span.
Right.
The source mentions that, too, users getting so used to short form that longer stuff feels like a chore.
It's a real shift. Now, let's put some hard numbers on this advertising efficiency we mentioned. The 2019 figures are pretty stark.
Okay, lay them on us.
So, TikTok's ad revenue in China, around 50 billion yuan. Compare that to Weibo at 10.7 billion and Bilibili way down at 800 million.
Whoa, okay, massive gap. But what about user numbers? Maybe TikTok just had way more users.
Good point. Let's look. TikTok had about 320 million daily active users then. Weibo had 216 million, still substantial. Bilibili had 38 million.
Okay, so TikTok had more, but not that proportionally more than Weibo, considering the revenue difference. What about time spent?
That's the really interesting part. Average daily use time was actually pretty similar. TikTok at 62 minutes, Weibo 61 minutes. Bilibili users were even higher at 79 minutes.
So wait, similar time spent per user, but TikTok makes vastly more ad money per user.
Precisely. If you break it down ad revenue per user per minute and say Bilibili is a baseline of 1, Weibo comes in at about 3.05.
Okay.
TikTok, a stunning 9.46.
Wow. Nearly 10 times Bilibili and triple Weibo for every minute someone's on the app.
Exactly. It's not just showing more ads. It means the ads they do show are getting way more engagement. People are actually interacting with them.
So how are they delivering these ads so effectively? What do they look like?
Mostly in-feed ads. They just slot right into your regular video stream. They look and feel pretty much like normal user videos.
So they blend in.
They blend in, and the way they spread uses the same AI logic. Based on user reactions, machine learning figures out who else might like this ad, just like it does for a regular video.
So advertisers don't necessarily need to define super narrow target groups like on other platforms.
Interestingly, no. The source actually suggests going broader with targeting on TikTok often works better.
Really? Why?
Because you trust the algorithm. The core idea is that ByteDance treats all content the same, regular videos, ads, doesn't matter. Its only goal is optimal delivery based on engagement.
Okay.
It figures out the best social graph for that specific piece of content, ad or not, and gets it to the right eyeballs.
Which for the user means fewer ads that feel totally random or irrelevant.
Exactly. Fewer annoying ads. And this whole AI optimization engine, it's not just TikTok. ByteDance uses it across their other platforms too, like today's headlines.
It kind of makes you rethink advertising, doesn't it? Most of us just see it as noise we have to put up with.
That's the default perception, yeah. But the source makes a good point. If an ad is genuinely relevant, it can be useful information, like, a coupon for pizza when you were just thinking about ordering pizza.
Sure.
The problem hasn't been advertising itself, maybe, but the blunt tools we've had for delivering it, just blasting everyone, leads to that advertising pollution.
And ByteDance, it seems, cracked that code, found a better way.
They really did. Their approach means that even though there are a lot of ads on TikTok, users often just perceive them as more content they might like because they are often relevant.
Right.
And that leads to those much higher conversion rates we talked about. The source estimated TikTok's rates were like 10, 15 times higher than Bilibili, maybe 3 to 5 times higher than Weibo. The key is just treat all content equally, focus on delivery.
This whole shift short video, super targeted AI ads, it's even affected huge markets like smartphone sales in China.
It seems so. The source points out that while iPhone used to be totally dominant and still has loyal upgraders, its overall sales trended down, particularly from 2019. Domestic brands like Xiaomi, Huawei, Vivo, OPPO really rose up.
Is it just price or is there more to it?
Price is likely a factor, yeah. And maybe the feeling that new iPhones weren't huge leaps forward, people started buying older models more. But the source highlights something else. A criticism from Chinese media that Apple wasn't really communicating effectively with Chinese consumers anymore.
How so? Their marketing is usually seen as top-notch globally, luxury, quality.
Right, that global image is strong. But maybe it wasn't adapting to how Chinese consumers were actually finding information, which was increasingly through short video.
Okay.
They mention Apple's 3 Minutes film from Chinese New Year 2018. Beautifully made, emotional, shot on iPhone. Great ad. We've got the link.
I remember that one. Very touching.
Very. But it was 7 minutes long. High quality, yes, but totally different from the quick hit TikTok format that was exploding.
Right, not snackable content.
Exactly. And the data backed this up. Apple got tons of traditional media articles written about them in 2018, but readership on platforms like today's headlines, they lag behind Huawei and Xiaomi.
Interesting.
And even more telling. Brands like OPPO and Vivo, who had way fewer articles written about them, got similar readership numbers to Apple on those platforms.
What does that suggest?
It strongly suggests consumers were shifting, moving away from reading long articles for product info and towards engaging with short-form video first.
Okay.
Brands like OPPO and Vivo maybe understood this earlier, using video to grab interest, then maybe linking out to specs if people wanted details.
So pulling it all together, TikTok's huge success, ByteDance's rise, it's not just some passing fad.
No, the source argues strongly against that. It sees ByteDance's core strength as this relentless focus on efficient information delivery, using AI to get the right stuff, including ads, to the right people, and that benefits everyone in their ecosystem. Users get content they like, advertisers get results. It's a powerful loop.
And it's really shaken up the established order in Chinese tech.
Absolutely. The underlying tech is machine learning, AI. They were pioneers in applying it this effectively to the business of content and ads. They're now just indispensable, a core part of China's IT landscape.
So we really need to see ByteDance as a major tech player, not just the TikTok company.
Definitely. Way beyond just a popular app.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, ByteDance fundamentally changed the game in China, using AI for hyper-personalized content and ads. It's powered TikTok's dominance and shown us these huge shifts in how people consume information online.
Exactly. And that leaves us with a final thought for you listening. What about beyond China? How might this kind of AI-driven content and advertising model reshape things globally? What are the upsides and maybe the downsides of these intensely personalized digital worlds we're moving into?
Lots to think about there. You can find those links. We mentioned the Apple 3 Minutes film and the Xiaomi ad in our show notes. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.